With that, we'll get back into our recording here. And I just want to thank you all again for attending another breakout session here for our wellness, this year's wellness fair. I'm Gary Lott from your Olympia Wellness Committee. So today we'll get to hear from Janet Colestro from Stress Solution on moving from survival to creation. And just as a FYI, as we mentioned, that the session will be recorded and placed on the 2022 Wellness Fair page to be watched from now and beyond. So with that, I will turn it over to Jan. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Welcome, everybody. It's so great to see you. Thank you for taking the time to share a few moments with me. I'm Dr. Jan Colestro. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for over 45 years. So in awe of the connections between our mind, our body, and that I went back for my doctorate in nursing science. And I have been looking at the intersection of the autonomic nervous system and its role in our self-selecting behaviors. And that's what I did for my dissertation, which was partially funded by the National Institutes of Health. I have been working closely with Dawson Church, who is intimately tied with EFT and is an award-winning author of many, many, many books. His latest is Bliss Brain, if you want to check that out. So what I'm going to talk about is emotional freedom technique. How do you free up from where you're at and why you can't? And I'm going to talk to you about it from a different neurologic perspective. So I'm also a neural change solutions consultant, and I teach in organizations and corporations, but not this material. I'm going to give you this to you, right now, and give you some free resources and ways to experience it all on your own. So without further ado, let me share some slides with you. I pull together here. So I was asked to be the director for the Veteran Stress Solutions. And one of the things we did was revamp our website to make it super, super easy for veterans. We've expanded to active military at the request of a general that called me, hey, my guys are having trouble reintegrating during their leave. Can they use your services? I said, absolutely. And we also include veterans or family members of veterans. So here's a QR code if you want to check us out, and we are at stresssolution.org. So why would you even want to do that, right? Well, we offer free clarity calls to discover what's right for you. We offer free EFT or tapping sessions, free hypnotherapy, free heart math techniques to create heart and brain coherence. And I would like, if you're working within the VA system or you work with veterans, I'm going to step out of my normal box of requiring that you be a veteran or active duty or family and invite you to check out our site and try some of our free sessions. Just tell them that you are on this wellness call with me and that Dr. Jan personally invited you, because I want you to have the experience of what it is to do these. And I'm going to limit that to the tapping because I have the most providers that can provide that for you and more limited resources for the hypnotherapy and the heart math. So I'm going to reserve those for our population that we serve. So if you're interested in experience tapping, because we're not going to have time in this short time for me to actually do a tapping session with you, I invite you to either reach out to me or to go ahead and contact Veteran Stress Solution and set up an appointment. And there's the information how you can do that again. So what I want to talk to you about is what exactly clinical EFT is. So it's an evidence-based method that's been validated in over 100 clinical studies, and these have been published. We have a huge, extensive library of all these scientific studies at EFTuniverse.com. But it has been approved for use in the VA as a generally safe therapy in conjunction with traditional therapies. But comparatively small numbers of VA clinicians are aware of its existence and efficacy, and few have been trained and have the skills to use it. So I'm going to talk to you about another wonderful thing. if you are providing services for veterans and you are actually more interested than just the experience of EFT, contact me and I'll arrange for you to be trained in EFT at no cost to you. We have a 4-day professional skills program that we provide as a courtesy for people that deal with veterans, because we have a huge commitment to veterans. So what exactly is EFT? It uses exposure, cognitive processing, and adds a somatic component of acupressure. Now, we've researched this independently, and what we have found is that the adding of the tapping produces reductions of psychological distress greater than the exposure and cognitive processing alone. And it's a somatic interruption process. Now, why do you need that? Why can't you just normally use everything you've learned in cognitive therapy? Great techniques. You've learned all these skills. You're stuck now. Why can't you find your way out of it? Well, you can't think your way out, but you can tap your way out. In normal cognitive processing, when a stimulus is received from the outer environment, from a thought that we have, from a memory that we have, it is processed through the neocortex, that outer walnut corrugated area of our brain. It's our thinking brain. But something different happens when people get stuck into trauma, and it doesn't even have to be a big trauma. Oh my God. Even just misplacing your car keys can push you into this, right? You're in a crunch, you got to get somewhere, and it's like, oh, because then you start, I covered in my last section, this thinking and feeling loop. You're like, why do I always do this? I'm so on. You just like go through all this self-talk that pushes over into the trauma loop. So you process it via short path. Notice what's missing, the big orange circle. You're not processing it through your neocortex. You're not recalling everything that you learned that you were going to do. And so that short loop gets you there quicker because you're in trauma and your brain's saying, I have no time for you to think about things. I just need to activate your stress hormones. And that activation of that HPA, which is the hypothalamus pituitary axis stress pathway, results in you experiencing the hormones of fear and stress and anxiety. So you need a somatic interruption to break that cycle. And that's what tapping does. And again, it's something to be experienced. So if you'd like to have that experience, either reach out to me when you go to the Stress Solutions site, send me a message directly. There's a link there, contact the director, because I can't do it justice in a few words in this short time. And you will be amazed. Whether it's, I have anxiety crossing a bridge, I can never get through this, anything that's going on for you, you can use the somatic interruption process, and that's going to help you take charge. Here's a real easy example. You ever be in a test or a situation where there's a little bit of anxiety, normal anxiety, and you know the answer to the question the person's asking you. You ever been on a test that was important to you? And when they say pencils down, and as soon as you walk out of the room, you remember the answer. Why didn't I remember that? And so you could, in this trauma loop, you're going to say and do things that aren't you. And you're going to say, I should have never said that. I should never have done that. Why did I do that? It's because you didn't engage your thinking brain. It's not your fault. Your brain was preserving resources and getting you into that stimulus right away. So here's another easy thing I just wanted to throw in, is that EFTuniverse.com offers free EcoMeditations. And these are short. You can see they're between 20 and 22 minutes. You can get them with background music, no background music, male voice, female voice, and it incorporates the concept of tapping so that it has, this is a zipper process that has studied the best of all the different meditations, leveraged all these in a nice, easy to use way, incorporates tapping to get you beyond your resistance to the changes that you want to make. So if you just quick write that down, or you can also look back at the recording of this, and that's another way that you can interrupt that cycle for you. But you normally won't think of this, But if you can get yourself in the habit of tapping, do it in the moments where it's not critical. So in the moments when it is critical for you, it has now become a new habit for you, and it's your pathway out. I'm going to stop my share so I can see you better, interact with you, and take your questions. So what intrigued you? What inspired you from what you've just heard?
I know personally, just seeing a lot about the EFT or the tapping, I think that's almost got more of a stigma. I think if you see someone kind of doing that out in the public or during a stress situation, you might think that they don't have it together, even though they're actually right on their way of getting it together. And I was just wondering if there's any information or kind of anything you've got on kind of some of that stigma, or anything like that.
Absolutely. I've done it stealthily, very stealthily. So I had a trauma when I was young with involving falling off a teeter-totter, right? Okay, so big deal. That was then, this is now. Not at risk of that anymore, but the emotions were still there for heights. And I was in Switzerland going up a tram, and with the glass around it. And I noticed my anxiety coming up, and I was like, oh, this is a good moment, because I've activated the neural networks that now I want to use somatic interruption, and so that I can rewire it. And so I was just doing it up the side of the hand, even though I feel uncomfortable about these heights. I deeply and completely love and accept myself, even though I'm feeling uncomfortable about these heights. I deeply, and yeah, doing my thing. And then, people don't know what I'm doing, right? You don't even have to do all the points. You don't have to do all the points. Just casually do it. It's the somatic interruption. My friend, who's an energy psychologist, she goes, oh, I noticed you were doing that. Did it work for you? Well, I'll find out on the way down. So on the way down, I'm in the middle, right? Because I don't want to be by that window. And a woman turns to me who's at that front window, looks right at me, and she says, do you want to stand here? And I said, okay, I guess I should. And I went and stood there, and I got the opportunity to enjoy the view. Even better, I was at an event that was using a technique for you to pull up your ability to emotionally regulate in times of crisis. And we were practicing rappelling off a 32-story building, right? And I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting. And I'm there, and I'm in the elevator going up, and I'm feeling all the anxiety, pre-feeling it ahead of the actual events. I'm safe in the elevator, and I decide I'm not going to let a thumbnail size of neuronal tissue in my brain, aka my amygdala, decide what I'm going to do in this moment. I'm not going to give away myself to a thumbnail size of neural tissue in my brain, but as a record of the past. And I took charge, and I successfully rappelled down that without too much anxiety. And it's because I practiced it in a manner that was relatively safe and easy for me.
Do you have any tips, or actually I'll throw it to the audience if there's any other questions too. I don't want to take all the time.
Oh, I did watch something recently which says, now there's no guarantee. While it eradicates it and permanently rewires it, you can always elect to bring it back. You can always decide to re-engage with it and rebuild that neural network, and then just tap through it again.
Did you have, and I know we're a little short here on time, but just wondering, how did you find, maybe I know I think there was 9 different points that you could touch. How did you kind of find your points? Was that just kind of, do you use different points for different levels of anxiety or anything to that effect?
No, there are different points for different types of issues. It was founded by this guy, Gary Craig. But they were so easy to learn and know and do. It was easier than having to remember, well, if it's this, it's this, it's this, is this, just do them all, right? And then that's the easiest way to do it. And you don't have to, if you lose the order, and it doesn't matter what side you're tapping on, you still get the effects of these somatic interruptions. The points are very specific. They're where the acupressure meridians are coming close to the surface. You don't have to be right exact, because if you're using 2 fingers, you're creating that vibration in a general area.
Awesome. Did we have any last questions from anyone here for Dr. Jan?
I
And Dr.
invite
Jan,
you to
would
have the experience.
can you, if you could, while we kind of do our, it looks like we have, is there a risk of tapping incorrectly?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not at all. And if the hormones of stress want us to predict and control. And so that question, it makes perfect sense. And so we start to ask ourselves, I don't know if I can do it right, whatever. And you start to have all this self-doubt. So that's a very common question, very common feeling. I had that question myself. And just begin, just do it. There's no way, there's no wrong way. And you can only feel the joy that you can release yourself from these burdens that you've carried for way too long.
Awesome. Well then, and if you can, right as I'm doing if you can pull up the QR code one last time, Doctor.
Sure.
In case anyone's interested, or scan that or save that to your bookmarks for later. We'll have a break after this next one, so you have some time to explore and do some of the scavenger hunt information. And with that, I just want to thank you so much, of course, for this presentation, Dr. Jan. We will absolutely check out hopefully some of these free experiences that you mentioned, like the hypnotherapy, the EFT or tapping.
Well, if you're a veteran and you're suffering from PTSD and stress, you can have all of those. Okay. You get 2 free sessions in each of those. If it's just you being curious about, I would say, can I restrict it just to the EFT, because my hypnotherapist would actually go crazy with me if
Yeah, no, absolutely.
opened it up, right?
We'll share that with our counseling and wellness programs, and for some of the veterans that might go through that program there. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah. They get to try it out and have that experience. And normally it only takes 6 to 10, sessions, and a lot less than even that to go ahead and reduce something that's been a lifelong issue. I've had fantastic results in one session with people. So go ahead, try it out.
Awesome. Well, we invite everyone here to please check out the QR code, check out more from Dr. Jan. And our next breakout will begin in just a couple minutes. It'll cover our mindfulness session. So we'll see you in just a moment.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you again.
Thank you.